The whispers began as rumors. In the dimly lit corners of military bases and the shadowy alleys of intelligence networks, murmurs of an unusual presence started to circulate. These whispers were initially dismissed as mere speculation, the kind of stories that thrive in the fertile ground of uncertainty and fear. Foreign fighters were spotted in the ranks of the Russian army. These sightings were sporadic at first, mere glimpses of unfamiliar faces in the sea of Russian uniforms. But as the days turned into weeks, the frequency of these sightings increased, raising eyebrows and questions among military analysts and intelligence officers. Their features, however, seemed out of place. Amidst the predominantly Slavic faces, there were soldiers with distinctly Asian features. This anomaly was too glaring to ignore, prompting a deeper investigation into their origins and purpose. Intelligence reports soon confirmed the startling truth. They were not Russians. Detailed analysis of intercepted communications and classified documents revealed a shocking revelation. These soldiers were not mercenaries from some distant land, but operatives from a nation known for its secrecy and isolation. They were North Koreans, disguised as soldiers of fortune. This revelation sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. The idea that North Korean soldiers could be operating under the guise of mercenaries in a foreign conflict was both unprecedented and alarming. These were no ordinary troops. They were highly trained, elite soldiers, capable of executing complex military operations with precision and efficiency. Their presence on the battlefield was a game changer, adding a new layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. Highly disciplined, fiercely loyal, they hailed from Kim Jong-Un's feared Storm Corps. This elite unit, known for its rigorous training and unwavering loyalty to the regime, was now operating far from its homeland, in a conflict that had global implications. Their presence in the heart of Europe was a testament to Putin's desperation. The Russian leader, facing mounting pressure and dwindling resources, had turned to an unlikely ally. This alliance was not just a strategic move, but a sign of the lengths to which he was willing to go to achieve his objectives. The Russian bear, once thought invincible, now relied on the hermit kingdom for manpower. This dependence on North Korean soldiers was a stark contrast to the image of Russian military might that had been projected for decades. It was a clear indication of the shifting dynamics in the global power structure. This was a dangerous alliance, shrouded in secrecy and fraught with risk. The world watched, stunned. The implications of this partnership were far-reaching, with potential consequences that could reshape the geopolitical landscape. The clandestine nature of their operations only added to the sense of unease and uncertainty. How had the conflict in Ukraine escalated to this? What had started as a regional dispute had now drawn in players from across the globe, each with their own agendas and stakes in the outcome. The involvement of North Korean soldiers was a clear indication of the conflict's escalation and the increasing complexity of the situation. What did it mean for the future of Europe, for the delicate balance of global power? The presence of these foreign soldiers on European soil raised questions about the stability of the region and the potential for further escalation. It was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global politics and the far-reaching consequences of regional conflicts. The arrival of these shadow warriors marked a turning point. Their presence signaled a new phase in the conflict, one that was characterized by increased foreign involvement and heightened stakes. The battlefield was no longer just a physical space, but a stage for a larger geopolitical struggle. The Ukraine conflict was no longer a regional affair. It had become a focal point for international tensions, drawing in nations from across the globe. The involvement of North Korean soldiers was a clear indication of the conflict's global significance and the far-reaching implications of its outcome. It was a global crisis in the making. The world watched with bated breath, aware that the outcome of this conflict could have profound implications for the future of international relations and the balance of power. The presence of North Korean soldiers in Ukraine, was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global politics and the potential for regional conflicts to escalate into global crises. 2 years of brutal war had taken their toll. The once vibrant cities were now reduced to rubble, and the cries of the innocent echoed through the desolate streets. The conflict had left deep scars on the land and its people. The Russian army, once thought mighty, was depleted. Casualties mounted, morale plummeted. Soldiers who had once marched with pride now trudged wearily, their spirits broken by the relentless fighting. The battlefield was a grim testament to the heavy losses endured. Putin's dream of a swift victory had become a nightmare. The initial confidence had given way to frustration and desperation. Military vehicles, once symbols of power, were now mired in the mud, unable to advance. The weight of the situation bore heavily on Putin's shoulders. He needed reinforcements, and fast. The urgency was palpable as planes landed, bringing in fresh troops to replace the weary and wounded. The hope was that these new soldiers could turn the tide of the war. Turning to traditional allies was no longer an option. The diplomatic channels that once provided support were now fraught with tension and mistrust. Empty chairs at meetings symbolized the isolation Russia faced on the global stage. Many were wary of being drawn into a protracted conflict. The world watched with bated breath as protests erupted, and leaders debated the implications of getting involved. The fear of a prolonged and costly war loomed large. Sanctions had bitten deep, limiting resources. The economic impact was severe, with empty store shelves and declining graphs painting a bleak picture. The Russian economy was struggling under the weight of international sanctions. Putin was backed into a corner. The once formidable leader now found himself in a dimly lit room, contemplating his next move. Military equipment lay unused, gathering dust, a stark reminder of the challenges ahead. He turned to Kim Jong-Un, a fellow autocrat with a history of defiance. In a secretive discussion, the two leaders found common ground. North Korean soldiers, known for their discipline and loyalty, were now part of the equation.
It was a pact born of desperation, a gamble on a wild card. The handshake between Putin and Kim Jong-un symbolized a new alliance, one that was fraught with uncertainty. Military leaders from both nations strategized, hoping to find a path to victory. Putin had little choice. He needed fresh troops to maintain his grip on the occupied territories. The presence of Russian tanks and troops in war-torn cities was a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for control. But this alliance came at a steep price. It exposed Putin's weakness to the world. The news of the pact spread quickly, and world leaders watched closely, analyzing the implications. Journalists reported on the unfolding events, highlighting the precarious nature of the alliance, and it empowered Kim Jong-un, giving him leverage on the world stage. The North Korean leader seized the opportunity to assert his influence, speaking at a podium with newfound confidence. The military parade that followed was a display of strength, signaling North Korea's rising power.
For Kim Jong-un, the Ukraine conflict was an opportunity. His isolated nation, starved for resources and recognition, could exploit the West's preoccupation with Russia. In Putin, he saw a kindred spirit, a fellow outcast. Sending troops to Ukraine served several purposes. It cemented his alliance with Moscow, a crucial lifeline against Western pressure. It provided his troops with valuable combat experience, but perhaps most importantly, it gave him bargaining power.
Kim's price was clear advanced military technology. He coveted Russia's arsenal, from hypersonic missiles to cyber warfare capabilities. By deploying his Storm Corps, he was making a down payment on a dangerous deal, one that could reshape the balance of power in Asia and beyond.
Section 4. A volatile alliance. Risks and ramifications. The world watched this unholy alliance with growing unease. The presence of North Korean troops injected a new element of volatility into the Ukrainian battlefield.
These soldiers, known for their ruthlessness, were unlikely to hesitate if ordered to commit atrocities. The risk of escalation was palpable. A miscalculation, an accidental encounter could spark a wider conflict.
And with North Korea's history of unpredictable behavior, the potential for misjudgment was high. Beyond Ukraine, the implications were profound. China, North Korea's longtime patron, watched with keen interest. The alliance, if it solidified, could embolden Beijing in its own territorial ambitions. The global order, already strained, was teetering on the brink. Section 5. Echoes of a Global Storm. The Wider Significance. In this chapter, we delve into the profound implications of recent global events, examining how they resonate far beyond their immediate contexts. The deployment of North Korean soldiers to Ukraine was more than a footnote in a regional conflict. It signaled a significant shift in global power dynamics, highlighting the growing influence of autocratic regimes. It was a harbinger of a new era, one where traditional alliances are being questioned and new, often uneasy, partnerships are being formed. This new world order is characterized by unpredictability and a constant state of flux, one defined by shifting alliances and emboldened autocracies. These nations are no longer content to play by the rules set by the West. They are actively seeking to rewrite them.
The rules-based order, painstakingly built after World War II, was crumbling. The institutions and agreements that once provided a framework for global stability are now under unprecedented strain. No longer could the West afford to view conflicts in isolation. Every skirmish, every diplomatic spat has the potential to trigger a cascade of consequences that ripple across the globe. Ukraine was a stark reminder that the world was interconnected. The conflict there sent shockwaves through global markets, disrupted supply chains, and forced nations to reconsider their strategic priorities.
What began in the Donbass could easily spread, igniting flashpoints in Asia, the Middle East, or even further afield. The interconnected nature of modern geopolitics means that no region is truly isolated from the rest. The world stood at a crossroads. Decisions made by leaders today will shape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. The stakes have never been higher. The path ahead was fraught with peril. The potential for miscalculation or escalation is ever present, and the consequences of such mistakes could be catastrophic.
But one thing was certain. The ghosts of the 20th century, once thought vanquished, were stirring once more. The lessons of the past, if ignored, threatened to repeat themselves in even more devastating ways. And the choices made today would determine the fate of the 21st. The world watches with bated breath, aware that the decisions of a few could alter the course of history for all. Yet amidst the uncertainty, there is hope. Movements for peace and unity are gaining momentum, reminding us that while the challenges are great, so too is our capacity for resilience and change. The future is unwritten, and it is up to us to shape it. Through cooperation, understanding, and a commitment to shared values, we can navigate these turbulent times and build a more just and peaceful world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more trending news.